All right, I need to bring up a very, very important thing here. We have the Donald Trump world and the ramifications of what was set up from day one coming to fruition right in front of our eyes just in time for the election as planned. Donald J. Trump, the Heritage Foundation, the Republicans have been working together with apparently the Supreme Court and Vladimir Putin himself. These are all statements based on factual evidence that has come out recently. Judge Thomas going to Russia, hanging out with Vladdy, the obvious Republican outing of the 4th of July, the first year Donald Trump was in office, when 18 senators and congresspeople, all coincidentally Republicans, actually spent Independence Day of our country with Vladimir Putin himself for a couple days worth of a party. All of this stuff ties together, and we've got to think of the groundwork that was laid to get us where we are today. We have the Heritage Foundation, Donald Trump, and the religious nut jobs on the right, whose main purpose is to get Roe versus Wade overturned. So the religious evangelicals and everyone else get together with the Heritage Foundation and all the powers that be to say, we will overturn Roe, but you have to back us, and that's candidate that will get this done no matter what happens. We have all of this lined up. We have Donald Trump personally, once he got into office, interviewing, hiring, and getting pledges of loyalty from municipal court judges all the way up to the Supreme Court justices that were appointed, whose names were given to Donald J. Trump specifically from the Heritage Foundation. They also helped with the appointments nationwide. He appointed everyone in his circles that had jurisdiction over his properties. He also, as a side note, appointed justices that had jurisdiction over, like, say, Joe Biden's area where his home is, or the Clintons' area, or the Obama's area. Didn't have any use because nothing ever came out of it, but Hunter Biden can tell you otherwise right now. Anyway, besides the point. So we have these judges in place like Clarence Thomas, like Judge Kavanaugh, like Barrett, like Eileen Cannon, like the special counsel in Hunter Biden's case. All of those people were put in place on purpose because any skeletons in the closet, any laws or broken laws or anything that was discovered while he was president under the scrutiny of presidency and under the scrutiny of the protection of national security will bring up criminal acts because he is a damn criminal. It's as easy as that. He knew that, everyone else knew that, but they had a job to get done. That was overturn Roe versus Wade and institute Project 2025, which is a long-term Republican mandate since the Reagan era. Everything was put together for those main purposes. So we have the immunity case that was coming up, went to the Supreme Court, which they sat on for months and months and months and months. Instead of hearing it and tossing it back to the courts, which we all knew they were going to do in the first place, right away, they waited to literally the very last day of that term to render a bullshit decision that is now coming down and affecting all the other cases. Presidential versus personal. Immunity, no immunity. And as a side note, Mr. Clarence Thomas, Harlan Crow's slave, purchased, bought, and paid for by Crow and Vladimir Putin himself. They're good friends now, remember? They go and visit. Anyway, little side note about questioning the integrity of the process of appointing a special counsel like someone like Jack Smith. Now, Jack Smith, with a 97% conviction rate, wartime criminal prosecutor, is a rock star in the industry and a civil servant his entire life. He is the last person someone like Donald Trump wants to go up against, and that is why the deck was stacked so thoroughly, because they knew the charges coming were big and they needed so many people to work just to defend Donald Trump against his own actions. That is what's going on right now. Clarence Thomas actually wrote that questioning of the appointment and This morning, Judge Cannon jumped on it and used it as an excuse to dismiss the documents case on Donald Trump. Now, dismissing the case puts it in Jack Smith's hands to appeal the 11th Circuit. The 11th Circuit, there is no way in hell, isn't going to approve his appeal, which will put it back down. He will also demand that Eileen Cannon get taken off the case, which will also happen because those judges, Eileen Cannon's bosses, started this entire thing when she was chosen randomly. 4 judges in that area, 2 of them were Trump loyalists that were appointed, her and the other guy. She was told, because of the county, the process of running this case will cost taxpayers way too much money. You are way not even close to a seasoned enough judge to handle a case of this magnitude. She refused to listen. That pissed them off right out of the gate. Then she made a bunch of other decisions that they got involved in and bitch slapped her about them too. So they are not going to hesitate to take her off this case. She had them build a SCIF room, a secure document viewing room, just so she can have control over this case and do what she's currently doing. She insisted on it. That SCIF room was built. That taxpayer money was thrown away when miles down the road there was already one ready to use. But accepting that would mean she wouldn't have power over the case, which would mean her Russian mobster husband and her boss, Donald Trump, would be not happy with her. So it was manipulated from day one. Now, delay on the behalf of Donald Trump with SCOTUS, with the Supreme Court, delay with Eileen Cannon. So the intersection of these 2 delays meet, the decisions meet. She has the opportunity to misinterpret, once again, the law in place for 50 years and dismiss the case. It's going to go back to the appeal. It's going to go back to Jack Smith. She'll be off the case. The election will come and go. And according to who takes the office in 2025, will be whether or not justice is served. We need to understand every single part of this was part of the plan. Because a guy who spent his life breaking laws, screwing people over with malicious intent, knows enough eyes look at him, evidence will come out. And the house of cards will fall. So they try and save the structure of the house, which is exactly what they've done so far. I repeat, the only way to make sure justice is served is to get out and vote in November, blue, all the way down ticket. Congress wanted this particular case to go away. They also wanted the J6 case to go away. Why? Because many members of Congress and many members of Senate are implicated as criminals and co-conspirators in those cases, which means criminal charges were looking at them. Those charges aren't exposed unless the evidence is exposed in a court of law. The evidence being exposed in the court of law will not happen if there's no court of law looking at the case. On the flip side, Judge Engoron, Judge Chutkan, they're going back after Engoron trying to do that. They're going back after even the the Stormy Daniels and the business fraud. They're going after all that to try and say immunity applies. But the bottom line is Judge Chutkan is recognizing that, and Jack Smith in that case as well. She is going to have a evidentiary hearing that is going to show all of the evidence in the J6 case to the voting public before the election. So there will be evidence that comes out before the election. And I hope, and you should hope, that it's enough to shake the foundations of the bullshit stories they've always said. Because that is where justice is going to be assured. We need to make sure, as a unified front, we back Joe Biden, we back every Democratic hopeful on the tickets from top to bottom, and we make sure they take office. We need to stay diligent, we need to stay educated, we need to be kind, because that will save our country and our future.